We are part of larger artificial intelligence crowd and artificial intelligence field, but the field is so huge, so we need to refine where we are. We are what people call sometimes on the edge, where the center being cloud artificial intelligence. That's where everybody is talking about it. So ChatGPT and large AI models and decision-making and robotics and autonomous driving, all those aspects of artificial intelligence, they are well publicized and they are on the forefront of newspaper. We're a different thing. We are on the outer edge of that. Computers to make decisions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our new podcast series, Decoding the Digital Industrial Revolution. I'm Arvind Sarin, and today I'm back with another trailblazer in the world of cutting-edge technology and innovative leadership. He currently steers the ship for PolyN Technology, a prominent fabless semiconductor manufacturer operating across the US, UK, France, and Israel. But his influence doesn't stop there. With a career spanning executive roles in various high-profile companies, including tech leadership positions in publicly traded firms, his expertise is sought after by nonprofits, high-tech enterprises, industrial sectors, and financial institutions alike. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our distinguished guest, Dr. Boris Maslov. Dr. Boris, welcome to the show.
Arvind, thank you so much. Greetings to everyone, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, I've been so excited about having this conversation just because the kind of technology that we're going to be looking at, I am afraid most people in our audience would not have heard of anything like this. But we're going to begin with understanding your early career and all the way then you in your current role. So could you share some highlights from your journey in the tech industry, from your early career to your current role as a board leader?
Absolutely, and thank you. Well, I started as an engineer. I got PhD in electrical engineering. That's my background. But then during early years of perestroika, I decided to go nonprofit. I worked for notably Edward Shevardnadze, who became later president of Georgia. I worked for George Soros, who is a famous financier. Both of those were nonprofits. Then when I moved to the States, I decided that family needs kind of call for for-profit work. And ever since, I'm gearing more towards for-profit corporations. But with engineering background, I'm leaning obviously more towards engineering.
Got it. No, it's an interesting dynamic. First starting a nonprofit and then realizing the impact that you could have for profit, which ultimately could have a goal and could do a lot more good as well. I remember working with Jessica Alba's startup, The Honest Company, and I remember one day she was giving this speech in an all-hands meeting. It was a smaller group, and they were press in that as well. And they were like, well, why is it that your products are so expensive, the diapers for babies? And a question was something like that, like if it's truly helping humanity and helping moms to get products that are naturally sourced, that are, natural and good for the skin, then why are you focusing so much on profitability? And I loved the answer. The answer was that in order to create that wealth so that more people can be impacted, and then the company grows and the company goes to another level, and that inches them closer to their overall mission and goal. So it's lovely. It looks like you enjoyed your work in both of these sectors, which is great, but primarily you focused on the tech. How do you balance your roles across different companies, and what drives your passion for innovation in various tech sectors?
Well, to add to balancing, I still do nonprofit work. I dedicate and donate part of my time to nonprofits. I've been at the beginning of renewable fuels in 2000s, part of Mid-Atlantic Hydrogen Coalition, National Hydrogen Coalition. I've been on Renewable Fuel Association. Later in Orange County, California, I was on OC Sustainability Council for a number of years. So I still do that because I believe society needs it. But in addition to that, or rather, majority of my efforts are in corporate world. And I just cannot sit still. I cannot imagine myself being, tied to one business because I believe I can do more than one. The pace of my mind is that one business is not keeping up with me, with what I need to do and want to do. So I have ability to lead several. And that's been with me forever, pretty much.
That's fantastic. And I can see what you mean by that, being wanting to have an impact in a lot of different places. But let me push back a little bit, because isn't it also true that for somebody, a young entrepreneur who's trying out multiple things, I mean, isn't it a good advice to focus on one thing, do it really well, and take that benefit of that compounding effect so that the results are really skyrocketing? And I know that, some of the very talented people like Elon Musk, he not only disrupted one industry, but three different industries, and did it in a way that, generations to come would remember. But at the same time, how do you argue with people who say that focus is extremely important? Don't you find yourself spread too thin a lot of times?
I'll push back on that. Focus is important, but somewhat overrated. It's always a matter of balance. In addition to work, there are other things to balance. Life quality balance. I have 4 kids. I do tons of sports. I'm outdoors every day. Those are balances. I spend the time with family. I spend time with sports, with friends, and I spend time in the office. Now the question is, of those 10, 12 hours in the office on average, how do you slice that? And whether your focus thing is whether you are overloaded or you are okay. And that sets a balance within that slot of the business activities, right? The same as you manage your overall 24 hours, the same you manage your business. In my work, in my experience, I prefer and like slicing that to several businesses to a large extent because there is a cross pollination. What I learn in one or two businesses, I bring to the third business. And that benefits multiple involvements actually do benefit each one particular. And it's more expertise. I have more expertise than just one business running continuously, so I can bring my expertise from elsewhere.
I think I would have to agree with that, because in some ways at Copper Digital, we help customers solve problems using emerging technologies. So we're, this digital transformation company that has experiences working with different companies, different industries. So essentially, we are also creating that focus areas for different companies. And I think for you as well, there may be a lot of work that you would be able to delegate, but providing your high level leadership to a lot of these companies, I see how that could work. And like I said, I draw that parallel with us as an organization as well, where we're able to cross-pollinate, where we're able to learn something from a manufacturing company and then really utilize those principles in health tech innovation project and finding those opportunities to innovate, because that's what really innovation is. Not having a very specific view of something and trying to put something together that usually would not go together, and having that exposure is very important. I also agree with you that balance personally is important, and I don't think anyone. I'm sure there may be some people, so I take that back. But I think we have plenty of time in a day. We have 24 hours, and the way that you can manage and live a balanced life where you could meditate for some time, you could spend enough hours exercising, and you could, get enough sleep. I think for me personally as well, I love to travel. And my goal is to travel to every single country in the next 5 years. And I'm able to do that thanks to my fantastic team who, continues to align and adjust as I'm forging new partnerships in different parts of the world. I think, there are set processes and systems that keep the company going. So I think I agree with you there more than, many people would. But I'm sure there are skills and leadership styles that are important to be able to manage multiple initiatives. Well, let's switch gears and focus on PolyN Technology and its mission. What sets it apart in the tech landscape, and how does it contribute to the industrial innovation? In fact, you could maybe step back and explain what you're doing at PolyN Technology.
Well, PolyN is my favorite of all times. For one, it goes along my training, so 30 plus years later, I can finally use my PhD in electrical engineering, which is right on. The beauty of that is, and what we do, we are part of larger artificial intelligence crowd and artificial intelligence field, but the field is so huge, so we need to refine where we are. We are what people call sometimes on the edge, where the center being cloud artificial intelligence. That's where everybody is talking about it. So ChatGPT and large AI models and decision making and robotics and autonomous driving, all those aspects of artificial intelligence, they are well publicized and they are on the forefront of newspapers. Very different thing. We are on the outer edge of that. Computers, to make decisions, they need to process information. Information they can only get from inputs, from sensors, from the keyboard, from the voice, from the microphone, from the camera on the self-driving car, from alarm sensor somewhere. If you don't give any information to the computer cannot react, right? So processing information from sensors, that's a bottom part of the iceberg. That's a 90% of the deal, what is not seen on the surface. But that is overwhelming. There are 46 trillion sensors in the world. If I divide it by mere 9 billion of humans, it comes to about 6,000 sensors per living being, including farm workers, in rural areas in India. So there's no disrespect to India. That's a huge amount of sensors. Each sensor right now generates bits and bytes of information, sends it somewhere. So the system is getting overloaded. There is not enough power to power all the sensors. There is not enough throughput capacity for wires to transfer all that information. So no surprise, there is Semiconductor Industry Association, which is the largest industry association in the world. In 2020, they formulated the goals for the next 10 years for the entire semiconductor industry in the world. And number one great goal, they call it great analog goal, is to process information from the sensors in analog format much more efficient than today. That is a grand analog goal. Think about it. That's exactly my business plan of PolyN Technologies. Process information from the sensors in analog format in much more efficient way in sense of power and data transmission. It's 100% much. The difference being that we came up with that goal in 2019, Semiconductor Industry Association in 2020-21. So in the patent world, we're ahead of everybody. We're the early bird that gets the worm. We did get it.
So what does PolyN Technology do? So you came up with a way that the information from the sensors can be transferred in an analog format and at a fraction of the power that's needed. Now, how do you monetize that? What is it that you're doing? Who are you helping? Who are your customers? Give us a little bit more flavor on what the company does.
Absolutely. Good example. Automotive tires. Everyone drives a car and you have temperature and pressure sensor monitors in your car. They call TPMS, temperature pressure sensor monitoring system. So you can see on your dashboard pressure in your tires and PSIs. And that is mandatory. You cannot drive without it. Now, each tire company wants to develop more, and they have their own what they call smart tire programs. And that means what they want to get is quality of the surface. Am I driving on ice? Am I driving on the water? Am I gliding? Am I skidding? Is it sand on the road? Is it snow on the road? You cannot do it from the car with a visual. You can do it only from sensing the road in the tires. So each tire company is trying to develop that. When they developed conventional digital solution, and they have done it. Those programs exist for a number of years around. They're trying. Conventional digital solution, if you put that sensor in the tire in the classic format of digit, it requires changing battery every month, which is totally impractical. That's why you don't see it on the roads. So even though solution exists, people don't use it. Not practical. When our chip, with what we do, we go analog, we go low power, we go low transmission mode. Our solution provides 6 years of battery life. And no wonder I got top 5 tire companies in the world, about 70% of the market, working with me today on that solution. And they are my paying customers. Now, mind this, I'm 45 people company. They are all 100,000 plus people companies, well-established, publicly traded. We're talking brand names. We're talking Bridgestone, Continental, Michelin, Goodyear, and on and on. You can take the list. They are all here. There is good reason for them to work with a 40 people company because nobody else can provide that solution. One, and that solution is really needed. That's two. That's one indication of what we do as a breakthrough. Nobody else can do that.
Wonderful. So that's one area where this type of an architecture that has low power requirement and that transmits the information from the sensor in an analog format is, used. What are some other examples?
Other good examples are processing of human voice. Human voice, we have 2 billion cell phones on the planet, and every time you talk to somebody, you have noises. I had to be interrupted during our interview because, gardeners came to cut the grass, and that noise distracts. Every time you repeat that, I didn't get it. It's noise in the background. What we do, we extract the voice, and we transmit voice only. As opposite to what current industry does. Current industry is trying to listen to the noise and subtract and remove the noise. But that's impossible because some signals are noisy. So if there is noise on your side, I cannot hear your noise separate from your voice. It comes already mixed. So here we go with the uniqueness of the solution of voice extraction. And we do it in a real compact way, way. So we developed 2 products. One of them is called Smart Microphone. The idea is absolutely simple. Every time you're on Zoom call and every time you're not speaking, the microphone automatically goes off. Now, today I'm taking Zoom calls. I'm on my iPhone and I'm pushing the button, speak now, and then I'm pushing the button, stop speaking. That is automated. That's $1 solution. For any wired microphone, it's 50-cent solution. When you start speaking, you're on. When you stop speaking, you are off. As easy as that. Brilliant solution. Good for 2 billion users. Little bit more complicated solution in voice is what is called smart voice control, where our system detects 120 voice commands in different languages. And those are used for, first and foremost, for TV sets. And here we have the largest in the world customer, making largest number of TV sets in the world, a lot of white labeling. And with that, the largest number of remote controls, the IR, old school remote controls. And they are trying to make voice control, obviously. But they couldn't without our technology. So when they learned about 9 months ago about our technology, they created a separate group within the business. And the separate group comes and visits us and works with us and we are finalizing the development of smart control. But that smart control goes also into any appliance you can think of, your microwave, your refrigerator, your washing machine. You don't have to push the button. You just say, hey, wash light cycle, my sport clothes, and that's it. Importantly, it is not talking to the cloud. People do not like to be listened by the cloud. There are privacy concerns. There are also concerns about hacking, into your systems. We are totally off grid, off cloud. It's localized. So customers love it, developers love it.
No, this sounds really interesting. So you're essentially able to extract the intent from the voice command, and using that intent, you're transmitting that analog, like you said, through the IR or other signal. So I can totally understand how that's possible. And that's how you're operating a lot of the smart devices without the need of sending it to the cloud and then having everything connected through cloud. I think I've never heard of this, and this sounds very, very interesting to me. This is fantastic. Well, kudos and many congratulations.
An option, obviously, of going with Alexa, as many people do. Alexa, turn off my lights and things like that. But then Alexa listens to you, and many people do not like that. In many cases, it's just not working mentally. In many cases, it's not working technically.
Yeah. And you're able to send enough information for those commands. So that's super interesting. Well, from your perspective, how is this digital transformation wave reshaping traditional industries like manufacturing and logistics?
Well, big time. I'm old enough to remember when first DVDs showed up, right? Instead of VHS players, and then computers with flat screens. And each one of those, technological steps was bringing a lot of changes to overall life. Right now, hard to imagine somebody without a couple of screens or without 3 screens, on hands. Was not the case 20 years ago. Same is, I see that today with artificial intelligence, as we discussed, being center cloud big thing. It changes the periphery totally, in terms of what it takes as an information, but also what it gives as an information, as an outputs, in advices, actions, robotics, self-driving, machinery, assembly lines, and on and on and on. So changes are huge. And we're witnessing that as we speak. Right now, most kids are trying to cheat on their homework with ChatGPT, and there are anti-ChatGPT tools determining that. Take that change, 12 years old already use it, most of them. So that's a change, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think even all of these things translate to the manufacturing and logistics industry, because, of course, in logistics, you could have that ultimate transparency. In manufacturing, the cost can be reduced by automating a lot of these processes. We can create a lot of essentials at another scale that's unheard of. So as we witness rapid advancements in AI, data analytics, what are some ethical considerations that you believe are crucial for tech companies to address?
Well, ethical considerations are extremely important, but they are society-specific, right? 300 years ago, it was quite ethical to kill the whales. Now it's not. Right, so ethical morphs, and as artificial intelligence, a larger field will be developing, ethics around that will be forming and morphing and changing for the society, for AI, for their interfaces. With what we do at PolyN, we are less exposed to ethical problems because we are way down deep. If you take, or I like the analogy for my business, there is AI gold rush, and everybody is saying those words. Well, the original gold rush was way back then, in the 1860s. And who profited most of the gold rush? This famous saying, which is attributed wrongly to Mark Twain, that, picks and shovels, guys who were in picks and shovels business and Levi's jeans, they made the most money because everybody was buying pick and shovel and jeans. They're putting jeans on, taking pick and shovel and going to dig the gold. Now, gold had ethical issues, whether it was for war, for killing, for unjust enrichment. But picks and shovels were kind of slightly outside of that larger problem. They were still used by majority of the people. I'm providing picks and shovels. People may use them in a wrong way. That obviously is a concern. But nonetheless, I'm making picks and shovels.
And I think there's enough awareness that's spread. And I think as tech companies take a vision to, of course, increase the pace of innovation, they also need to understand what are the current ethical implications and, of course, just always empathize and balance that need for creating tools, but then also have some level of monitoring done. I think all tech companies should definitely consideration in mind.
Again, to emphasize ethical problems, with invention of gunpowder, humanity created something extremely powerful. It needs to be contained and it needs to be looked at with ethical eye. The same with nuclear weapons, or even more so, right? Nuclear power stations, those are huge power sinks. You need to be able to control them and contain them. AI, which has been created, is probably even more powerful. There will be even more need to contain that and to control it properly and to containment is the right word, right? So it doesn't explode in our faces. So there is a lot of work to be done, and it's extremely important.
Absolutely. In your view, what are the key challenges and opportunities in semiconductor innovation, particularly concerning energy efficiency and scalability of industrial applications?
Well, the mainstream challenges are better known. You need to go to smaller node, to 2 nanometers, 1 nanometer, whatever numbers are. They keep changing every year and get smaller and smaller. With lower power consumption, with water cooling, if you watch all the current developments, all the new NVIDIA graphic cards are water cooled and super micro racks are water cooled. So that's one level of power efficiency, and that's the frontier. Luckily, I'm not as PolyN. I'm not on the frontier. I don't need 5 nanometer technology. I don't need to wait in line for 3 years and pay top dollars for the designers and developers. I'm because my technology is so simplistic and so brilliant in that sense. I'm perfectly fine with older, or rather more established technologies of 45 nanometers, 90 nanometers. Right now, I'm manufacturing on 90 nanometer. That's as old as it gets, but that's preferred automotive because it lives for 30 years in the car. It doesn't break. You crank up, 1970s Cadillac. It's working with all those things, on the screen with green LED lights. So that's the technology we're using, really established, really robust technologies. The keyword here is cheap technology. The race is somewhere in front of us. We're comfortably picking up less expensive, more established pieces of that technology.
So reduce the size and do it cheaply and, of course, make it available for everybody. Less power consumption. I think those are some of the important opportunities in the semiconductor innovation for sure.
Consumption is big. If you look at the last Davos, there was Arvind speaking from ChatGPT OpenAI saying that he's investing personally into new power because power is not enough for AI applications. And then right after that, the CEO of Intel was speaking and saying that, biggest issue right now, semiconductors is getting enough power to power up the semiconductors. So that's a challenge which is not exactly a semiconductor technology challenge, it's societal challenge, but semiconductors are getting into everywhere. They're enabling massive landslide changes in the society in every aspect, but they need to be powered up. So power efficiency becomes number one problem.
Absolutely. No, cooling is an important challenge, and I made a video on this as well where, that was part of the answer why a lot of the companies are moving to Ireland. Of course, there's a lot of water there. It's
which is cheap, yes.
And I think that's going to be the new currency, of course. So, but there's definitely lots of challenges that we have to overcome as we go, on this journey, as we see right in front of us the change that probably took decades in the next 5 years. So, during these times, what advice would you offer to aspiring entrepreneurs that are looking to enter the tech sector and make their mark in the industrial innovation?
Well, my biggest advice is do not give up. Life, as people say, throws lemons at you, not to continue the joke. It's not easy, but it's definitely exciting. It's exciting to be an entrepreneur, and especially right now, and especially in tech business. I wish I'd be, much younger and started all over again. I would do the same. So just don't give up, guys. There are obviously troubles. As different from Apple or Google, startups do go through trouble. That's how they grow. And it's question is how you take it. You take it on the chin, you find workaround, you pivot, you always pivot. I have not had a single company which did not pivot on my tenure in 5 years. You change stuff around because you're growing, you're changing, you're morphing. And that's the biggest fun. Larger companies, they are more still, they are less changing. It's more fun to be in small ones, so stay in it. Fight and stay and enjoy.
Fight and stay and enjoy and pivot as needed. Love that. And I think that's great advice. I'm myself a huge fan of lean startup, where you run experiments and you check and adjust. And, of course, we all have our hypothesis of why something's going to work, and those are good. But the real data is going to tell that story. And oftentimes you have to talk to the user, iterate on the product, and then based on that, come up with a new insight that's going to be that pivot that's going to, help you launch and create that paradigm shift, get into that blue ocean and grow. Well, this is fantastic. And with that said, as we approach the end of this fascinating conversation, one thought that keeps buzzing in my head: are we witnessing the dawn of a new renaissance, one driven by silicon and code? You've painted a picture of a future where technology isn't just a tool, but a collaborator, a partner in human advancement. It's a future both exhilarating and slightly unsettling. But isn't that the beauty of it all? That technology, like art, pushes us to the edge and often of what we know, forcing us to redefine ourselves and our place in the ever-evolving human story. Because here's the thing, the future isn't set in stone. It's being built right now by minds like yours, by anyone who dares to dream a little bigger. So whether you're a seasoned tech titan or just starting your journey, remember, the only limit is your imagination. Dr. Maslov, thank you for your inspiring conversation. So listeners, as we step back from this conversation, let's not just be consumers of technology, but participants in its creation. Let's ask the big questions, embrace the unknown, and see where this new renaissance takes us. Until next time, goodbye.
Thank you, everybody, for having me, and goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.